Thank you so much to all the devotees of ISKCON of Bergen, New Jersey. Very happy to be back to New Jersey, if not physically, at least virtually. Can definitely some familiar faces. My Dandavat pranams to Ramchandra Prabhu, my Dandavat pranams to Ramatulsi Prabhu, and to all the devotees who have joined us. Please accept my very humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Let us quickly chant the Mangalacharan prayers to seek auspiciousness from our spiritual superiors like Srila Prabhupada and our Gurujan, and then get started in our today's discussion. Om Ajnanathimiranthasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanyam Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamineti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Anandalilamaya Vigrahaya Hemavadivya Chavisundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Nityananda Maham Naumi Sarvananda Karamparam Harinama Pradam Devam Avadhuta Shiromani. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Samasta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. So we see in the Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are three primary books that glorify Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita that has been given to us by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. The Chaitanya Bhagavat that has been given to this world by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and similarly Chaitanya Mangal that has been given to this world by Lochan Das Thakur. So in this way we find there are three authoritative books that speak about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, very beautifully Kaviraj Goswami says, Chaitanya Chandrera Lila Aghada Gambhir Pravesha Karite Nare Sparsha Rahitir. He says the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are so deep. Pravesha Karite Nare Sparsha Rahitir. Kaviraj Goswami says that the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are so deep that I don't have adhikar. I don't have capability to enter into those pastimes. Who is saying? Kaviraj Goswami. The best among poets he is saying that he doesn't have ability to enter. And we find that time and again our acharyas make this point that how much can a conditioned jiva who's bound by the laws of material nature, how much can he glorify the Lord? It's almost like a fish trying to swim the length and breadth of the ocean, or it's like a bird trying to fly the dimensions of the sky. How much? It's impossible. A bird cannot fly the dimensions of the sky, and likewise a fish cannot swim the length and breadth of the ocean. And similarly, a conditioned jiva can never fully glorify Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The pastimes of Mahaprabhu are like an ocean. They're extremely deep and they're never ending. It's deep and it's never ending. We see Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the revered spiritual master of our Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was in Nadia, the birthplace of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he came up with a newspaper. We see even in this day, there are so many newspapers that go around. The Times of India, the New York Times, and so many others, you name it. But never do we find a newspaper that exclusively speaks about Sri Krishna. There is no newspaper that exclusively speaks about Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was such a revolutionary, he was such a great personality in our Sampradaya, that he came up with something called as the Nadia Prakash. And this Nadia Prakash was a newspaper. Such a newspaper that it was circulated every single day in every house of Nadia. So just imagine, every day in New Jersey, a newspaper goes around, and this newspaper doesn't speak about politics. It doesn't speak about cricket, but it exclusively, one-pointed, just speaks about Sachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It just speaks about Krishna. So even if someone is reading newspaper, that also becomes bhakti because he's reading about Sri Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his work, his lifetime, his pastimes, and likewise about Sri Krishna and his pastimes, all this were collected and documented in a daily newspaper called as the Nadia Prakash, and it would spread around. So one time, one Nadia Vasi, he came to Srila Saraswati Thakur and said, "Oh, I heard you have come up with Nadia Prakash. You're coming up with a daily newspaper. Do you have that much content to do this every day? Can you sustain it every single day for 365 days for lifetime together? Do you have so much content?" And when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur heard it, you can imagine, he is a Simha Guru. He is a lion Guru. When Srila Saraswati Thakur heard this, Srila Saraswati Thakur shot back by saying, "In fact, I can publish Nadia Prakash every minute. Every minute I can publish newspaper, but because you don't have the time to read it, for your benefit, I am publishing it once a day. But if you're qualified, I can publish Nadia Prakash every single minute, because the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are like an ocean. It's never ending and it's deep." And the same holds true even for Sri Krishna. So that very exalted Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was in his final days in the land of Jagannath Puri, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in the December of 1936, he gave a very profound instruction. And we can see this, it's still there online. Srila Saraswati Thakur told all his disciples and all the disciples of his disciples, and for everyone, for all the generations to come in the future, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur very emphatically said, "We are not here in this world to impress people. We are not here in this world to become engineers and doctors and so many other things. Those are the externals. But the Supreme Lord has given us this human birth to perform bhakti. The Supreme Lord has given us this human form of life to become one-pointed servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has given us this tongue to glorify the Supreme Lord. He has given us this tongue to glorify the devotees of the Supreme Lord." And now we can imagine, when that tongue rather than glorifying the Supreme Lord, rather than glorifying the devotees of the Supreme Lord, when that tongue is used for criticizing the devotees of the Lord, what hope can we expect? How can we expect to make any advancement in Krishna Bhakti? That tongue that is used for glorifying rather than glorifying, when we criticize the devotees, how can we expect to make any advancement? Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj would say, when we criticize devotees, everything is lost. All the chanting, all the sadhu sangha, all the deity worship, all the fastings on Nirjala Ekadashis and Pandav Nirjala Ekadashis, every single thing, all devotional activities that we do, when we criticize, everything is lost. Srila Radhanath Maharaj in one class was making such a strong point. This is a point that can be framed and put wherever we are chanting in the morning, or wherever we are, whichever room we go daily, we can kind of laminate this and put. Srila Radhanath Maharaj in one class was making this point that the tongue is meant for glorifying the devotees of the Lord. But when that tongue is used for criticizing the devotees of the Lord, Maharaj said, it is time we cut the tongue off. Such a strong point. Such a strong point. Maharaj said, it is time we cut the tongue off, because that is not the purpose why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Sri Krishna has given us this tongue. In fact, in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the famous section of Ajamil, we see that when Ajamil called out to his son Narayan, the Vishnu Dutas came and the Yamadutas also came. And finally, after some discussion between the Vishnu Dutas and the Yamadutas, it was decided that Ajamil should be handed over to the Vishnu Dutas and not the Yamadutas. So the Yamadutas again go back to Yamaraj, very dejected, because all this while the Yamadutas had a 100% track record. Whenever they went to take someone, they always got the person. But this was the first time they came back empty-handed. Their track record was broken. So they came back to Yamaraj and they explained to Yamaraj whatever had happened. And at that time, Srila Shukadev Goswami very beautifully describes, there was a conversation that happened between Yamaraj, who was a Mahajan, one of the 12 Mahajans, and the Yamadutas. And at that time, Yamaraj gives a 3-point formula. He gives a 3-point formula so that in the future, there should be no other confusion. So that in the future, there should be no other episode of Ajamil where there is confusion. He gives a clear-cut instruction to the Yamadutas. And in that instruction, Yamaraj, the first point he says is, Jivhana Vakti Bhagavad Gunanama Deyam Chetascha Smarati Tacharanaravindha Krishnaya no namati yachira ekadapi tannana yadvyamasato krita Vishnu krityan. What is Yamaraj saying? Yamaraj tells the Yamadutas, Jivhana Vakti Bhagavad Gunanama Dheyam. Those people who use their tongue for anything other than chanting the names of the Lord, those people who use their tongue for criticizing the devotees, for criticizing the Lord, Tan ana yadyam asato kritu Vishnu krityan. Yamaraj tells the Yamadutas, please give those people VIP entry and bring them here. Give them a red carpet and bring those people here, because they are not using the tongue for the purpose it is given. Jivhana Vakti Bhagavad Gunanama Dheyam. Those who are using the tongue for criticizing and not for glorifying the name, form, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, bring those people. Give them a VIP entry, give them a red carpet entry, and get them here. So this is such a subtle point, dear devotees. This tongue, this jivha that has been given to us by the Supreme Lord is meant exclusively for glorifying Sri Krishna. In the 7th canto, we have a personality by the name Prahlad Maharaj. Gajendra had problems in the form of one crocodile, but Prahlad Maharaj had problems in the form of so many crocodiles. His father was like a crocodile. His teacher, Shant and Amarka, were like a crocodile. Mental stress, emotional stress. Just imagine the person whom you love the most, your father, his only agenda, his only business is to kill you. It's not that It's not that Hiranyakashipu was doing a 9 to 5 job and in the free time he was making some plans to kill Prahlad Maharaj. His only plan of the 24 hours that he had, every minute he was spending just to make sure how he can kill his son Prahlad. And think from the standpoint of Prahlad Maharaj, a 5-year-old, what was going on in his heart? Every night that he was going to sleep, just imagine every night you go to sleep and the person whom you love the most is making plans to kill you. But Prahlad Maharaj, we find the whole of 7th canto, not even one place does Prahlad Maharaj criticize his father. Not even a single verse, not even a single shloka does he criticize his father. Prahlad Maharaj doesn't say, why do bad things happen to good people? Prahlad Maharaj never complains. Not even a single verse does he criticize his father. While in reality, he had every reason to find faults with his father. His father was trying to murder him, but he never criticizes. In fact, even when Narsinghadev appears from the pillar and everyone is scared to go in front of Narsinghadev, even Lakshmi, the Lord's own consort, was fearing to go in front of the Lord. It is only Prahlad Maharaj who ventured, and he went to Narsinghadev. And when Narsinghadev, like a lion, was roaring, he asked Prahlad Maharaj that, my dear Prahlad, what do you want? You have prayed, you have called out to me all this while, and now I have come here. What is it that I can give you? And the first thing we find Prahlad Maharaj is asking, he doesn't ask for himself. Prahlad Maharaj is such a devotee. He called out to the Lord always, and when the Lord came in front of him, he did not ask for himself. But the first thing Prahlad Maharaj is asking Narsinghadev is, my dear Narsinghadev, what happened to my father? Did my father go back home, back to Godhead? Did my father get liberated? His father caused so much anxiety to him, but still he's thinking about the welfare. Still he's glorifying his father. Still he never criticizes his father. So Bhagavatam is filled with so many pastimes of devotees who had problems. Just like when we join the Krishna conscious movement, sometimes we think that, oh, after joining the Krishna conscious movement, my problems have increased. Pre-Krishna consciousness, I was okay. But after joining Krishna consciousness movement, no tea, no coffee, no onion garlic, no eating in the restaurants. My rules and regulations have increased. My apparent problems have increased. But we find in the scriptures, whether it is Prahlad, whether it is Dhruva, whether it is Gajendra, whether it is Rukmini, whether it is the Gopis, whether it is Bhishma Dev, they all went through problems. But amidst all those problems, there is not even a single place where they criticize. They don't criticize another devotee, nor do they criticize the Supreme Lord. So one fundamental point that we learn from the Bhagavatam, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and all the scriptures is a devotee is someone who tolerates. Come what may, the javelin like problems will always be thrown at us. Think of our situation and think of Prahlad's situation. Are we in such a situation where we are tormented like that of Prahlad Maharaj? Are our family members throwing us from a cliff? Are our family members throwing us in hot oil? No. Our problems are very insignificant in compared to what Prahlad Maharaj faced. But still, Prahlad Maharaj never complained. He never complained. And we time and again we find, this was in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's go to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita now. In the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a personality by the name Ramachandra Puri. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, at that time Ramachandra Puri came to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu offered all his respects, like the way Mahaprabhu would do to anyone. Mahaprabhu offered all respects to Ramachandra Puri. And Kaviraj Goswami describes there was a beautiful Krishna Katha that took place between Ramachandra Puri and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But there was one point about Ramachandra Puri because of which his name is there in Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ramachandra Puri's name is mentioned in the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita because Ramachandra Puri was always envious of devotees. He would always criticize devotees. He would look for opportunities where he could criticize devotees. He would create situations and he would criticize. One time he invited Jagadananda Pandit. Who is Jagadananda Pandit? Satyabhama. The Supreme Lord's consort in Dwarka, one of the 8 principal queens, Satyabhama, appeared in this world as Jagadananda Pandit, very dear associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So one time Ramchandra Puri, he invited Jagadananda Pandit to his house. And now Ramchandra Puri had a particular way of criticizing. And that way was he would invite guests to his house. He would feed them, and such that he would feed them to the neck. And when they would eat up to the neck, he would criticize them by saying, oh, look, the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are eating so much. He would invite them, he would feed them, he would beg them, oh, please eat, please eat, please eat. And when they would eat, he would criticize by saying, oh, look, the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are not following anything. They are not following Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jivha Vegam. He would criticize. So he would push the devotees into a trap. And when the devotees sincerely would honor prasadam, he would criticize. This was his formula. So he invited Jagadananda Pandit and he fed Jagadananda Pandit up to the neck. And then he started criticizing, oh, I have heard so much about you. You're the Lord's dear associate, but there's no control on the tongue, no jiva vegam, not even able to control. Well, I know it is Krishna Prasad. You have to honor Krishna Prasad, but no control. So he would always do that. He would invite and then he would criticize. And if this was a Vaishnava Apradha, dear devotees, Ramchandra Puri was such a personality. He didn't stop here. This was just the starting of his criticism. He goes on one level higher. Now we will see in the discussion, he goes on one level higher and higher and higher. Just like we see, when in Hindi we say, jab ghode ko lagam na de, ghode chalta hi rehta hai. When we don't stop the horse will keep running. And Ramchandra Puri was like that, because no one told him anything. He would just go on criticizing. He started with Jagadananda Pandit. Now he goes one level higher. Ramchandra Puri, dear devotees, was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri's disciple is Ramchandra Puri. And now when his Guru Maharaj, Madhavendra Puri, was in the final stages, when his Guru Maharaj was departing this world, Madhavendra Puri, who was such an exalted personality, for whom Gopinath personally stole a pot of sweet rice, that Madhavendra Puri, when he was in his final days, was thinking about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Ay Dina Dayar the Nath hai, Mathura Nata Kadavya Lokya se. He was thinking as to how Srimati Radharani was separated from Sri Krishna for 100 years. And finally, after 100 years of Vipralamba, after 100 years of Viraha, 100 years of separation, finally they meet in the place called as Kurukshetra. And when Radharani reaches Kurukshetra, Radharani chants this verse, Ay Dina Dayar the Nata He, Mathura Nata Kadavya Loke se. Hey Krishna, you were Vrindavan Nath, you were Radha Nath, you were Gopinath. But what happened? Seems like you forgot everything. Krishna, you forgot everything. Vrindavan, Govardhan, Yamuna, Pulinavan, Sesava, Rasadika, Leela, Se Vrajera, Vrajajan, Mata Pita, Bandhugan, Bada Kemone, Chitra Pesarila. Srimati Radharani tells Krishna, hey Krishna, you forgot Vrindavan, you forgot Govardhan, you forgot Yamuna. Vrindavan, Govardhan, Yamuna, Pulinavan, Sesava, Rasadika, Leela. Hey Krishna, you forgot the Rasasthali. You forgot the place where we did Rasa dance. Okay, understood. You forgot all these places. Say Vrajera, Vrajajan, you forgot the Vrajavasis. Okay, you forgot the Vrajavasis, understood. Mata Pita Bandhugan, hey Krishna, you forgot your parents. How can you be so grateful, Krishna, ungrateful, Krishna? You forgot your own parents? Bada Chitro Kemone Pasarila. Oh, this is very astonishing. You took so much from us and you forgot everyone. Hey Krishna, you are no longer Vrindavan Nath, you are Mathura Nath. You like that name, correct? You are Mathura Nath, you are Dwaraka Nath, you are no longer Vrindavan Nath. So Radharani in this mood was chanting these verses in Kurukshetra. And Madhavendra Puri, when departing this world, was chanting these verses, was trying to absorb in this mood. And at this time, Ramchandra Puri comes to the scene. Now we know how much critical Ramchandra Puri is, how much of a critical eye he has. He comes to his Guru Maharaj. When his Guru Maharaj is departing this world, he comes to his Guru Maharaj, and he comes to his Guru Maharaj and says that, my dear Guru Maharaj, what is all this? Why are you chanting all these verses? Why are you chanting the verses that Radharani and all chanted? Don't chant all these things. He is instructing his Guru Maharaj. That Guru Maharaj who gave him Diksha, that Guru Maharaj who is going to take him back home, he has the audacity to instruct his Guru Maharaj when his Guru Maharaj is departing. He tells his Guru Maharaj, my dear Guru Maharaj, listen to me. Don't do all these things. Rather than thinking about Radha and Krishna, you think about Brahman. You think about the effulgence. You think about these things. There is no need to think about Radha and Krishna. And when Madhavendra Puri heard this, Madhavendra Puri got so angry that he chastised Ramchandra Puri and asked him to leave. Because Ramchandra Puri was acting as an impediment to his Guru Maharaj. While at the same time, Madhavendra Puri had another disciple called as Ishwara Puri. At that time, Madhavendra Puri called Ishwara Puri and asked Ishwara Puri to stay beside him, to stay near him. And Ishwara Puri was such a disciple. He was not disturbing his Guru Maharaj, but he was helping his Guru Maharaj to align in the mood that his Guru Maharaj wanted. The section that his Guru Maharaj was thinking about, Ishwara Puri Pad would read from those sections and stimulate that Braj Bhav in the heart of Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri liked Ishwara Puri very much. And naturally, he became the Kripa Patra. He became the recipient of Madhavendra Puri's mercy. While on the flip side, we have Ramchandra Puri, who is criticizing his Guru Maharaj even when his Guru Maharaj is departing this world. And because of this Guru Apradha, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes that the heart of Ramchandra Puri was flooded with material desires. Because he didn't align with the mood of Guru Maharaj, because he was criticizing his Guru Maharaj, his heart was simply flooded with material desires. And here in this point, we find there are two types of disciples that are mentioned. One is Ishwara Puri and second is Ramchandra Puri. Please hear this, dear devotees, very carefully. One Guru Maharaj and two disciples. One is Ishwara Puri, who is aligning to the mood of his Guru Maharaj, while second is Ramchandra Puri, who is acting whimsically, who is acting independently, who is acting in a way that is not pleasing to his spiritual master. So we see that one Guru is having two disciples with two completely different, with two completely opposite moods. Let's take another example. In the 4th canto, we have Dhruva Maharaj. In the 7th canto, we have Prahlad Maharaj. Both Dhruva and Prahlad have the same Guru, Narada Muni. But we see, in spite of having the same Guru, Narada Muni, Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj have different destinations. Dhruva Maharaj has not even crossed the material shell, while Prahlad Maharaj is sitting in Vaikuncha. Both are disciples of the same Guru, but having completely different destinations. Why? Because Dhruva Maharaj went to the Supreme Lord with a material desire. What was the material desire? Having a kingdom greater than his father and forefathers. But Prahlad Maharaj was Niswarth Bhav. Prahlad Maharaj did not want anything. Manye dhana bijana rupa tapashrutojas teja prabhava bala paurusha buddhi yoga naradhanani bhavasya parasya pumsham bhaktya tutoshna bhagavan gajayutapaya. Prahlad Maharaj, all he practiced was simply bhakti. He did not want anything from the Supreme Lord. And because of this, our Acharyas comment, because he went to the Lord with no material desires, Anya Abhilashitam Shunyam, completely zero. Because of this, Prahlad Maharaj goes to Vaikuntha, while Dhruva Maharaj is still there in the material shell. Now someone can have this question that, oh, I am also having material desires. So should I understand that I will also not cross material shell because Dhruva had material desires? He's still there in the material planet. So what is the hope? What is the guarantee that I will cross material shell? He is having material desires. I am also having material desires. But the point here to be understood is Dhruva Maharaj, even after meeting his spiritual master Narad Muni, was chanting the mantra that he gave, that is Om Namo Narayana, with a material desire. He was chanting Om Namo Narayana not with the desire of getting Krishna, but he was chanting this mantra with one pointed desire that I want a kingdom greater than all my forefathers. But in our case, when our Guru Maharaj gives the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we are always taught during initiations and even in so many classes that we attend, we are always taught that when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the mood should always be, my dear Radharani and Krishna, please engage me in your service. As His Grace Gauranga Prabhu sometimes says, that devotees are so funny that when they chant, rather than saying Radha and Krishna engage me in my service, they will tell the Lord that, my dear Lord, engage him in your service. Rather than engaging me, they will tell the Supreme Lord, my dear Lord, engage him in your service. But that is not the correct mood. We pray to Radha and Krishna that, my dear Radharani and Krishna, engage me in your service. But Dhruva Maharaj did not have this mood. He was praying to the Lord with a material desire. And that is why the Lord fulfilled. So the point I'm trying to make here is one Guru, two disciples, two different destinations. Let's take another example. This example is such where we will see the disciple is in a higher rasa than that of his Guru Maharaj. In the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have a personality by the name Gauridas Pandit. And Gauridas Pandit is Subal Sakha in the spiritual world. Krishna's very, very dear friend. Gauridas Pandit has a disciple by the name Hriday Chaitanya. Now, Hriday Chaitanya is also in Sakhiras. Guru Maharaj is in Sakhiras. Disciple is also in Sakhiras. But Hriday Chaitanya has a disciple by the name Shyamananda Pandit. We would have heard. In Vrindavan, we have Radha Shyam Sundar Mandir, which is Shyamanand Prabhu's temple. So Gauridas Pandit, who is Subal Sakha, has a disciple by the name Hriday Chaitanya, who is also in Sakhiras. Guru Maharaj and disciple, both in Sakhiras. But Hriday Chaitanya has a disciple by the name Shyamananda Pandit. And Shyamananda Pandit, very interestingly, was sent to Jiva Goswami. Shyamananda Pandit, Narotham and Srinivas are sent to Jiva Goswami. Now the question arises, why was Shyamananda Pandit sent to Jiva Goswami? Well, Hriday Chaitanya is also qualified, very qualified. Why didn't he teach Shyamananda Pandit? Why did he send Shyamananda Pandit all the way to Vrindavan to learn from Jiva Goswami? There is a very deep point here, dear devotees. And the understanding here is, Gauridas Pandit is in Sakhiras. Hriday Chaitanya is in Sakhiras. But Shyamananda Pandit is in Madhurya Ras. And Jiva Goswami is also in Madhurya Ras. This is the reason Hriday Chaitanya sent his disciple to Jiva Goswami to learn from another Madhurya Mai Bhakta. The Guru Maharaj was in Sakhya, but the disciple was in Madhurya. And he asked his disciple to go to Jiva Goswami, who is also a Madhurya Mai Bhakta. So here we find a disciple is in a rasa greater than his spiritual master. So we see the spiritual life, spiritual world is very dynamic. In all the examples that we discussed of so many disciples, whether it is Dhruva, whether it is Prahlad Maharaj, whether it is Ishwara Puri, whether it is Gauridas Pandit, whether it is Hriday Chaitanya, whether it is Shyamananda Pandit, whether it is Jiva Goswami, there is one personality whom we are not supposed to be, whom we are not encouraged to be like, and that is Ramchandra Puri. Why? Because of all these names that we took, of all the disciples that we mentioned here, it is only Ramchandra Puri who was critical. It was only Ramchandra Puri who would always find faults with everyone. And who was so inimical to everyone, he acted as an impediment to his Guru Maharaj. He did not allow his Guru Maharaj to depart this world properly in the mood that his Guru Maharaj wanted. He criticized Jagadananda Pandit. And now, if this was everything, dear devotees, now he goes on to another extreme. Ramchandra Puri is someone who would just left, right, center, he would just criticize every single person. He would look for faults in another person. And one time when he was walking in Jagannath Puri, he came outside the house of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And outside the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were a few ants that were crawling. Few ants were crawling, and Ramchandra Puri saw that. And he said, oh, there are ants outside the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which means Mahaprabhu is sitting inside and eating sweets. Because ants, naturally, wherever there are sweets, ants will come. Ramchandra Puri started criticizing by saying, what kind of sannyasi? Outside he is doing, no, he's superficially acting as a sannyasi. He's wearing renounced clothes, but inside, without anyone knowing, he's sitting. Chupke se बैठ के भगवान मिठाई खा रहे. Inside he is sitting and he's eating sweets. And outside he's speaking about Trunadapi Suni Chena. Inside he's eating sweets. What kind of sannyasi? Just by seeing ants. He had not even entered inside, dear devotees. Just by seeing the ants, this was his conclusion. In fact, because we're speaking about ants, when Shri Krishna was in Dwaraka, Krishna one time was sitting with Rukmini. And Shri Krishna and Rukmini were having a discussion. And all of a sudden, Krishna is there, started smiling. And Rukmini looked at Krishna and said, Krishna, I'm talking something serious. There is nothing funny about it. All your queens speak and you're hearing submissively. When I speak, you're having problem. You see, even Krishna had grahastha problems. Even he had these intricate grahastha problems he faced. And Krishna said, no, that's not the reason. Rukmini said, why are you smiling? And at that time, Krishna, he pointed out. And there was one ant that was crawling on the wall. So Rukmini said, what about the ant? I am speaking something serious. And all of a sudden, you're pointing to the ant. Is the ant more important than me? Krishna said, no, let me explain. This ant was walking in search of a sweet. And Krishna tells Rukmini that, my dear Rukmini, this ant has been Indra 28 times, but has still not given up sense gratification. Hari bol. This ant has been Indra 28 times, but still has not given up sense gratification. And Krishna sees this and starts laughing. It's such a subtle point. Brahma bhuvana loka punaravartino Arjuna. It's not just about saying it. In Dwaraka, Krishna actually demonstrated this to Rukmini. So generally it is saying that ants, wherever there are sweets, even in the house we see, if there are sweets just kept outside, only a matter of time the ants are going to come. But just because the ants are there, it doesn't mean sweets should also be there. Ants come for the sweet, that is correct. But just because the ants are there, it doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be sweet also. So similarly, Ramchandra Puri saw ants outside the house of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he gave his conclusion. Did someone ask him? No. Was his conclusion correct? No. He gave his own purport. Ramchandra Puri's purport. He gave his own purport. And he said, oh, what kind of sannyasi? Eating sweets, eating rasgulla, eating sandesh, eating gulab jamun inside. This is not correct. And he started spreading. This rumor started spreading. Vaishnava Apradha is so subtle. Sometimes we may criticize. And when we are told, oh, we should not do Vaishnava Apradha, we even back it up. We back it up by saying, oh, Vaishnava Apradha is wrong, but he is not a Vaishnava. Vaishnava Apradha is bad, but that is provided if he is a Vaishnava. He is not a Vaishnava. We back it up by saying, I'm calling a spade a spade. The Hari Bhakti Vilas describes there are 6 types of Vaishnava Apradha. Hanti Nindanti Vaidveshti Vaishnava Nabhinandati Kridyate yatino harsha darshane pathanani shat. 6 types of Vaishnava Apradha. First, Hanti, to hit a Vaishnav, to kill a Vaishnav. This is the most abominable. This is the most abominable, to kill or to hit a Vaishnav. What is the example? Haridas Thakur being whipped in 22 marketplaces. This is Hanti. Second, Nindanti, to criticize. This comes second on the list, dear devotees. To criticize the devotees of the Lord or the Lord himself is second, Nindanti. Hanti, Nindanti. Vaidveshti, to be envious of the devotees. Vaishnava Nabhinandati, to not offer obeisances seeing a devotee. This is also Vaishnava Apradha. When a devotee is coming and we don't offer Vaishnava obeisances, either because of too much familiarity or because of any other reason, to not offer obeisances seeing a Vaishnava, this is Vaishnava Apradha. That is why in our devotional community, devotee community, we always, all our programs, we start and end with Vancha Kalpataro Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. We always offer obeisances. So that is the fourth, to not offer obeisances to a Vaishnav. Fifth, Kridyate, to be angry at a Vaishnav for no reason, absolutely. That is also Vaishnava Apradha. And sixth, and the most interesting one, Yatino Harsha, to not be happy seeing a Vaishnav. That is also Vaishnava Apradha. When a devotee is coming from opposite direction, sometimes we see when a devotee is coming from opposite direction, we just change our path. Are ye devotee bahut baat karte hain. He speaks a lot. Oh, this Mataji always keeps glorifying herself. She will always speak about her cooking. Oh, this Prabhuji, he will just glorify himself. Better I take another path and I walk away. To not be happy seeing a Vaishnav, this is Vaishnava Apradha. And what is the Praman? Hari Bhakti Vilas. Hanti Nindanti Vaidveshti Vaishnava Nabhinandati Kridyate Yatino Harsha Darshane Pathanani Shat. 6 types of Vaishnava Apradha. And what was Ramchandra Puri doing here? Nindanti. He was criticizing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He started by criticizing Jagadananda Pandit. Then he criticized his own Guru Maharaj Madhavendra Puri. Now he is criticizing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord personified. And there are so many examples we find. Amoga criticized Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He found faults in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gopinath Patnaik found faults in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The washerman found faults in Ramchandra. Shishupal saw faults in Krishna. And here we find Ramchandra Puri is finding faults with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One of the names of the Supreme Lord is Adosha. That Lord who has no faults. He is Adosha and he is also Adosha Darshi. He doesn't have faults and he doesn't see the faults in others. The Supreme Lord sees only the good qualities. When he has to see the good qualities, he will become like Jagannath. His eyes will become like a magnifying glass, only seeing the good qualities. And when he has to see the bad qualities, he will become Balaji. He will close his eyes. He will not see. So the Lord is not interested in seeing bad qualities. The Lord only sees the good. He's a dosha. He has no faults. But that Supreme Lord who has absolutely no faults, these personalities like Amoga, Gopinath Patnaik, Ramchandra Puri, the washerman, and so many others, Shishupal, the list goes on. The list simply goes on. But one thing we find of all the names that we mentioned, all of them were completely doomed. All of them were completely doomed. Why? Because of Apradha. Because of Vaishnava Apradha, because of Guru Apradha, because of criticizing the Supreme Lord. The gates of hell become wide open for that person who criticizes devotees. Period. It's very simple. When we offend devotees, there is no way Krishna is going to accept us. Why? Because in the 9th canto, Krishna says, Sadhavo hridayam mayyam sadhunam hridayam tu aham mad anyatena jananti naham tebhyo managapi. In the section of Ambarish Maharaj, we see Shukadev Goswami saying, in fact, he's quoting Krishna. Krishna says, Sadhavo hridayam mayam. Sadhus live in my heart. Krishna is saying sadhus live in my heart. And now when we criticize those sadhus who are living in Krishna's heart, it's like stabbing Krishna on his chest. It's like stabbing that Sri Krishna on his chest, because the devotees are there in the heart of the devotees, and we are criticizing those devotees of the Lord. How can we expect Krishna will take us back home, back to Godhead, when we are stabbing Krishna's chest? On one side, we are telling Krishna that, my dear Krishna, engage me in your service. And another time, we are stabbing Krishna on his chest. We may not be doing physically, but Vaishnava Apradha is like stabbing Krishna on his chest. Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj would say that every devotee that we meet, that devotee is having the key to the door of the spiritual world that we want to go to. If we desire to go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime, then the key to that spiritual world is there with the devotee whom we are interacting with. And now Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj would say, when we criticize that devotee, it is almost like we are jamming the doors of spiritual world on our face. Impossible. We can never get Krishna by offending his devotees. And Vaishnava Apradha, this term of Vaishnava Apradha is not just meant for the devotees. It's not just meant that we should not offend the devotees. Criticizing someone is not a devotional principle. To not criticize is a human principle. It is not a devotional principle. It's a human principle. To glorify the devotees, that is a devotional principle. But to not criticize is basic human etiquette. And we see that today's non-devotee is tomorrow's devotee. Like, for example, Srila Jayapataka Maharaj, who is so popular in our Krishna consciousness movement, who travels around the world distributing the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Now, if we see Srila Jayapataka Maharaj before he joined Srila Prabhupada's movement, Srila Jayapataka Maharaj was into sports. Some say Maharaj was into baseball, some say he was into water polo. So he was into some kind of sport. Now, if someone criticized him before he joined the Krishna consciousness movement, that is still considered a Vaishnava Apradha, because now Maharaj is a Tridandi sannyasi. When that person criticized, Maharaj would have been like a normal person, but now Maharaj is a Tridandi sannyasi, and this is counted as Vaishnava Apradha. So today's non-devotee is tomorrow's devotee. So when we say we should not criticize, it just doesn't mean that we should not criticize devotees. It means we should not criticize anyone, whether devotees or whether non-devotees. In fact, there is no concept like non-devotees, because Krishna is present in their heart also. Today's non-devotee is going to become tomorrow's devotee. We were also non-devotees at some point, whether previous lifetime or even in this lifetime. But someone's prayers has brought us into this path. So when we say we shouldn't criticize, that point holds true for everyone. Indian, American, male, female, child, adult, whatever race it is, whatever ethnicity, whoever they are, one should not criticize. This is a very basic principle. Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj, I am giving different examples. We started with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. We went to Jayapataka Maharaj. Now we are going to Radhanath Maharaj. We are taking different points from the classes of different disciples of Srila Prabhupada who have emphasized on this point of not criticizing. One time Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj was in Chaupati Mandir, Radha Gopinath Mandir. And for those devotees who have been there will know that Radha Gopinath Mandir has Govinda's restaurant, like many of the Indian temples have. Just like here in North America, we have in Dallas, we have Kalachandji. Similarly, in India, we have Govindas. So Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj was walking with one devotee, and they were walking past the Govinda's restaurant. And it was a day of fasting. It was a day of one of the appearance day or disappearance day. So it was a fasting day. And outside Govinda's, one devotee was having a slice of pizza. It was a day of fasting, and one devotee was having a slice of pizza. And this devotee who was walking with Srila Radhanath Maharaj, he told Radhanath Maharaj that, oh Maharaj, see, today is the day of fasting. And he's having a slice of pizza. And when Maharaj heard this, Maharaj made such a powerful point. Maharaj said, he pointed at that devotee and he said, for him, his stomach is feasting, but his ego is fasting. But for you, your stomach is fasting, but your ego is feasting. such a strong point. Maharaj said there is a difference between he and you. You may be fasting, no doubt. His stomach is feasting, but his ego is fasting. But for you, your stomach is fasting, but your ego is feasting. Such a strong point, which again brings us to the same point, not to criticize. Simply not to criticize. Sripad Aindra Prabhu, such a revolutionary in our Krishna conscious movement for his 24-hour kirtan. Aindra Prabhu would sometimes once in his class, he was making this point that many times in our heart, we have this feeling that if we are doing fasting, Pandav Nirjal Ekadashi, if we are doing Nirjal and another devotee in the congregation, he's also fasting, but he's having water. We have this feeling, oh, I am very exalted. I am doing Nirjal, but he is doing Sajal. He's having water. The devotee having water, he will think to himself, oh, I am having water, but that devotee is having quinoa. I am exalted. The devotee who is having quinoa will feel, oh, I am exalted. That devotee who is not even having any fast. It is very relative. So Sripad Aindra Prabhu was making this point that when we fast and we see others are not fasting, rather than criticizing, we should think that devotee has done a lot of Nirjal Ekadashis in his previous lifetimes. So he doesn't have to do anything this lifetime. But I am so fallen, I am so low that I have to do all the fasting this life. That devotee, that Mataji has done all the fastings in all their previous lifetimes. So even if they eat, it is okay for them. But I have not done anything. Previous life also, I have not done anything. This lifetime also, I'm not properly following anything. So whatever rules and regulations are there, it is meant for us. But rather than that, when we superimpose that on other devotees and start finding faults in them, it's only a matter of time we are going to fall down. There are only two reasons for fall down, dear devotees. Only two reasons. Weak sadhana and Vaishnava Apradha. As simple as that. A weak sadhana, which means not chanting in Brahma Muhurta. Whatever our schedule is, if we are not getting up in the morning and chanting, Srila Prabhupada said Brahma Muhurta means chanting from 4 to 6 or 4 to 7. If we are not chanting in the morning, if we are not getting up in the morning, if we are not attending artis in the morning, that is a classic example of a weak sadhana. The 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra should be done in Brahma Muhurta. And that is why we find in all the temples in India, they chant from 5:15 to 7:15, which is Brahma Muhurta. Who constituted this? Srila Prabhupada. So a weak sadhana coupled with Vaishnava Apradha is a classic example of a fall down. Either one or both of them. So we see here in this example, Ramchandra Puri started with Jagadananda Pandit, then criticized his Guru Maharaj, Madhavendra Puri, and now goes on to criticize Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so humble. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gets to know about this rumor, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu calls his servant Govinda. He calls Govinda and says, my dear Govinda, from tomorrow onwards, I will eat only 1/4 of the preparations that are made. I will cut down all my eating. Ramchandra Puri is thinking that I am not being a proper sannyasi. I will reduce all my eating, 1/4. But we see such an important principle here. Ramchandra Puri was criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never criticized. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never criticized. Why? Because for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramchandra Puri was like his Guru Maharaj's god brother. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Guru Maharaj is Ishwara Puri, and Ishwara Puri's god brother is Ramchandra Puri. So Mahaprabhu never criticized. Mahaprabhu never said, oh, I didn't eat sweets, the ants just came. Mahaprabhu never justified anything. But he called Govinda and said, my dear Govinda, from tomorrow, only 1/4 of what is being prepared. So Mahaprabhu cut down on his eating. And when Mahaprabhu cut down on his eating, all the servants of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they said, my dear Lord, this Ramchandra Puri just criticizes everyone. Why are you taking his word so seriously? The preparations that we are making, you are there in Jagannath Puri and you're not having, my dear Lord, please don't take him seriously. And Mahaprabhu said, no, he is the god brother of my Guru Maharaj. If he thinks I am not being a proper sannyasi, I will reduce my eating. And Mahaprabhu completely stopped. He just made it 1/4. And now any normal person, their heart would have melted seeing how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought his eating down. But Ramchandra Puri was an exception. Even after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought his eating down to 1/4, he again went back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to criticize. He went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, this is not renunciation. Bringing your eating down to 1/4, oh, this is not renunciation. Sannyasi, he started speaking philosophy to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who spoke philosophy to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who had a conversation with Ramananda Rai, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who gave Roop Siksha, Sanatan Siksha, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who gave Siksashtakam verses, to that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramchandra Puri has the audacity to go and teach how a sannyasi should behave. He goes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, oh, my dear Mahaprabhu, don't renounce. A sannyasi is someone who will eat as much as it is required, not too much and not too less. I have heard that you are eating only 1/4. Oh, this is not correct. If you ask me, did someone ask him? No. But he said, oh, if you ask me, you should eat as much as it is required, not less, not more. So even after Mahaprabhu got his eating down, he still made sure to find faults with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were getting so angry. Paramananda Puri went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and begged, my dear Lord, so many devotees are preparing so many offerings. Why don't you just eat? Mahaprabhu said, no. If Ramchandra Puri is thinking I'm eating too much, I will not have. So then finally, by the Lord's supreme divine arrangement, it so happened that Ramchandra Puri went on some pilgrimage yatra. He went some Kartik Yatra. Kartik Yatra 2022. He went on a pilgrimage Tirth Yatra. And as he went on a pilgrimage yatra, naturally he left Jagannath Puri. And when he left Jagannath Puri, it was almost like a big boulder. It was almost like a big stone fell from the head of all the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because till the time he was there, he would find faults for every single thing. You do A, he would say B. You do B, he would say A. You do A, he would say C. Simply finding faults. So finally, when he left Jagannath Puri, the devotees became so happy. And in fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also became so happy, Kaviraj Goswami says, because Ramchandra Puri was the god brother of his Guru Maharaj, he couldn't say anything. But now that Ramchandra Puri left Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu was so happy. And from that day, Mahaprabhu again started eating in all the houses where he was invited. So after he brought his eating down because of Ramchandra Puri, after Ramchandra Puri left, Mahaprabhu again started honoring all the prasadam that was given to him. So we find that Vaishnava Apradha is something that causes complete destruction. What does aparad mean? Many times we say aparad ho gaya. I made a mistake. Aparad ho gaya. Vaishnava Apradha. What does this word aparad mean? In Sanskrit, radha, not radha, but the word radha means satisfaction. And apa is like a negation. Like many times we have a suffix or a prefix. So radha means satisfaction. Apa radha means that activity that diminishes our satisfaction in performing bhakti. Any activity that we perform because of which our taste in bhakti goes down is called as aparadha. Now let's take a quick example and wrap up our discussion, dear devotees. Radha we mentioned is satisfaction. Aparadha means any activity that brings down our satisfaction in performing bhakti. Now what is the example for this? In the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find that the 4 Kumaras, when they go to meet Jai and Vijay in Vaikunta, Jai and Vijay, they stop the 4 Kumaras. And because of that, the 4 Kumaras, they curse Jai and Vijay. They say that you have 2 options. Either you stay in material world 7 lifetimes as devotees, or you stay in the material world 3 lifetimes as demons. And the moment this option was given, Jai and Vijay, they said 3 lifetimes, not 7 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes. Why? Because they wanted to come back to the Supreme Lord faster. 7 lifetimes being devotees means they will be away from the Lord for such a long time. But they were ready to become 3 lifetimes as demons so that fatafat, as quick as possible, they can again come back to the Supreme Lord. But now, when they were cursed by the 4 Kumaras, they came down to this world 3 lifetimes as demons, as we know. And when they came down to this world, dear devotees, as Ravana or Kumbhakarna or Shishupal, Dantavakra, and we also see those same personalities, they also came as Jagai and Madhai in Mahaprabhu's pastimes. The Jai and Vijay also came as Jagadananda and Madhavananda or Jagai and Madhai. But the point that we see here is when the 4 Kumaras cursed, they came down to this world. In the spiritual world, as Jai and Vijay, they had so much taste in bhakti. They were the Lord's doorkeepers. But when they came down to this world, they became completely inimical to bhakti. They started finding faults in the Lord. They started finding faults in the devotees of the Lord. So did their taste in bhakti go down? Yes. As Jai and Vijay, they had a lot of bhakti. But when they came down to this world as demons, the taste in bhakti went down. And this is the reason our acharyas, headed by Sridhar Swami and others, they say Jai and Vijay, they committed aparadha because their taste in bhakti went down. Now let's see from the standpoint of the 4 Kumaras. The 4 Kumaras cursed Jai and Vijay. But did the bhakti of 4 Kumaras go down? Did the taste of the 4 Kumaras in practicing bhakti, did it go down? No. And this is why our acharyas say, even though the 4 Kumaras cursed, they did not do aparadha. While Jai and Vijay, because they stopped the 4 Kumaras, they came down to this world and their bhakti went down. And this is an example of Vaishnava Apradha. This is from the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now let's go 1 canto prior, 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have the pastime of Chitraketu Maharaj. Chitraketu Maharaj was so self-realized. He was sitting on the plane and he was going back home, back to Godhead. Air Vaikunta. Just like we have Air India. He was sitting on Air Vaikunta and he was going back home, back to Godhead. All set. He's going back home, back to Godhead. And he sees Lord Shiva. He sees Mother Parvati. And Mother Parvati was sitting on the lap of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva was giving a Bhagavatam class. And Chitraketu Maharaj made a comment. He said, oh, nice Bhagavatam class. Speaking about renunciation with the wife on your lap, nice Bhagavatam class. And Lord Shiva understood this. And Lord Shiva also smiled. Because Chitraketu Maharaj and Lord Shiva had a good connection. But Parvati took it very offensive. The wife takes it very offensive. She became very angry. She looked at Chitraketu Maharaj and chastised him and said, what audacity do you have to criticize Mahadev? You are proud of the fact that you're going back home, back to Godhead? Because you're going back home, back to Godhead, you're criticizing Lord Shiva? I curse you. While in reality, Lord Shiva was completely okay. But Parvati became so angry that she criticized Chitraketu Maharaj. And because of that criticism, we find Chitraketu Maharaj again took a birth as Vritrasur. But now the point here, devotees, when Vritrasur appeared in this world, did his bhakti go down? No. Because we see when Indra is having the thunderbolt on the neck of Vritrasur. Vritrasur chants immortal prayers from the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. These prayers are so important that they are on par with the Chatushloki Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 6, chapter 11, text 24, 25, 26, 27. 4 verses. Worth by hearting, dear devotees. When we get up in the morning and when we go to rest at night, these verses should always be chanted. Vritrasur, whose name is an Asur, is chanting these beautiful verses. Aham hare tava padaikamula dasanudaso bhavitasmi bhuya manasmareta supater gunamste grindhitava karma karotu kaya. He says, my dear Lord, lifetime after lifetime, please give me this benediction that I can become your servant and serve the devotees. What is his name? Vritra Asur. What is he praying? For the service of the Lord. So that is why many times when speakers speak, they say that even though his name is Vritra Asur, he's actually a Vritra Mahabhagavat. Because an Asura will never pray for the service of the Supreme Lord. Only a devotee will pray. But the point here is, the reason we are speaking about Chitraketu and Vritrasur is as Chitraketu Maharaj had so much bhakti that he was going back home, back to Godhead. But even when he was cursed and he became Vritrasur, his bhakti did not go down. His form changed. His appearance changed. His bhakti did not go down. And this is why our Acharyas comment by saying, what happened to Chitraketu Maharaj is not a Vaishnava Apradha. The comment that he made about Lord Shiva is not Vaishnava Apradha because his bhakti did not go down. While on the contrary, for Jay and Vijay, they became demons. Their bhakti went down. And that is a classic example of Vaishnava Apradha. So Radha means satisfaction and Aparadha means any activity that diminishes our satisfaction of performing bhakti. So the next time we don't feel like getting up in the morning, the next time we feel very difficult to chant our 16 rounds, the next time we don't feel like serving devotees, we have to understand it in our heart that there has been some Vaishnava Aparadha. Bhakti is such a path, it naturally brings happiness. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam. In every step it brings happiness. But if it is not bringing happiness to our heart, if our mind is getting attached to Netflix, if our mind is getting attached to Hollywood and Bollywood, all the film songs, if our mind is getting attached to all the heroes, our mind is getting attached to different TV serials and daily soaps and web series and all these things, it's only an example. We have not got taste in bhakti, and we have not gotten taste in bhakti. The reason for that is we have criticized devotees. It is only because of Vaishnava Aparadha that the heart becomes completely barren. When the land is barren, how much ever we sow the seed, nothing is going to come up. Similarly, when the heart, when the consciousness is barren because of Vaishnava Aparadha, how much ever we pour the nectar of Krishna Kathamrit, there will be nothing that will come up because we have criticized devotees. So this question was asked to Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, last 2 minutes, dear devotees. This question was asked to Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, that my dear Maharaj, if we have criticized someone, what is the way to rectify it? We agree, we have all criticized so many people, so many devotees. What is the way out? And Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, to that he said, if we have criticized someone, and if we know whom we have criticized, we go to them and ask for apology. We ask forgiveness. Not that we go and in front of the whole Sunday feast, we take a mic and we apologize, but it can be one-on-one. No need to completely publicize it, but it can be one-on-one. We can go to the devotee and express our heart that, my dear devotee, this is what I did. I think this is an aparadh. Kindly please forgive me. And we will see this. This is experiential. When we have criticized someone, Krishna gives inspiration in the heart that we have criticized them. And when we go and apologize to that devotee, the taste in bhakti comes back. This is experiential. This is experiential. We have to go and apologize to that devotee, and the taste in bhakti will come back. Now we can take this point further ahead, that what if we have criticized someone and that devotee has gone back home, back to Godhead? Well, we can go and apologize if that person is there on this planet, but if that person has gone back home, back to Godhead, to whom will we apologize? So to that, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj very beautifully said, if that person has gone back home, back to Godhead, we go and apologize to the Supreme Lord, that my dear Lord, this is the devotee whom we criticized, this is the aparad that we did. And not just this, we do bhajan, we do bhakti under the anugati of an exalted devotee. That is the prayaschita. When we criticize someone and that person has gone back home, back to Godhead, we repent in front of the Supreme Lord with tears in our eyes, and we do bhajan under the anugati, under the guidance of a very exalted sadhu. Till the time there is Vaishnava Apradha for which we have not repented, we can hardly make any progress. We will make progress, but it will be snail's pace. It can take 1 lifetime, 7 lifetimes, or even a 700 lifetimes, because Vaishnava Apradha just pulls us down. It just drags us down. So we have to make sure, let us take an oath, dear devotees. We will not criticize devotees. So many devotees we encounter. They may be younger to us, they may be older to us, male, female, Indian, American. Let us not criticize, because at the end of the day, everyone is Krishna's part and parcel. Everyone belongs to the same Father. And as Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj mentioned, if we criticize devotees, we are jamming the doors of the spiritual world on our face. Everyone will go back home, back to Godhead, except us if we criticize. So let us keep that as the thumb rule. Chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and not criticizing Vaishnava Apradha, not criticizing devotees. That is Vaishnava Apradha. Nirantara naam lav, kara tulasi sevan, achirata pabe tumi Shri Krishnera charan. Always chanting the holy name, serving Tulsi Maharani, and not criticizing any devotee, whoever they are, whatever their service is. Whether they are devotees present or whether they are non-devotees. The non-devotees of today are devotees of tomorrow. So to not criticize is a human principle, but to glorify the devotees is a devotional principle. So let us keep this in the bottom of our heart, that may we never criticize any devotee. May we not follow in the footsteps of Ramchandra Puri, like the way he criticized his Guru Maharaj and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But let us follow in the footsteps of Sri Ishwara Puri, who aligned to the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who aligned to the mood of Madhavendra Puri, and helped his Guru Maharaj be in the right frame of mind when he is departing this world. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful, mesmerizing talk. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. You took us to the right from Chetan Charitamrita, Bhagavatam, and all the nectarian pastimes. Beautiful, beautiful masses about the Vaishnava Apradha, and really solid examples, very easy to understand. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. May I have your permission to just share with all the devotees about the activities, what we do here at ISKCON of Bergen. I'll just take hardly 30 seconds and then we'll go back to the questions. In the meantime, devotees, please, if you have any questions, please post it to the chat or raise your hand. We'll go through with some of the questions as long as Prabhuji allows. And in the meantime, I'll just go share my screen for some of the programs, what we do at ISKCON of Bergen. So the Wednesday Sangha like this, we've been doing it for past 3 years almost, even before COVID time, and has been very successful in helping all the devotees far wide, not just New Jersey. Next Wednesday Sangha will be with Grace Rupeshwara, the Gauradas Prabhu will be speaking on envy and the low self-esteem, one of the another interesting topic. Um, at the same time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the same Zoom. Would highly encourage people, everybody to join. It's a beautiful, beautiful talk. And on Sundays, we've been doing the Sunday program in person at the temple. Who are around nearby, please visit us at the center. The ISKCON of Bergen, Paramus. His Holiness Prabhupada Maharaj will be speaking on deliverance of the Muchukunda, another beautiful pastime. Prabhuji mentioned the two rules and chanting and serving Tulsi Maharani, never criticize. A little over here, we have 6 to 8 in the morning chanting together with the devotee association at the same Zoom. Free to join. We also have a Bhakti Vish program on Fridays. So those who want to join the Bhakti Vish programs, please click on this link, provide your information. We'll engage you to the right program near to your home. In the midweek, midday, every day on the working days, we do the Bhagavad Gita reading, 12 to 12:15. Feel free to join. And that's about it. Let's go back to the question answers. Thank you, everyone, for patience. Sorry about a little longer discussion. Question came from Shalina Kirti Mataji and Ram Tulsi Prabhu. So many questions actually. And also devotees, you can raise your hand. It's a small group. You can ask the questions to Prabhuji as well. I'll take first question here. Is it true that reading Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhyakand chapter 22 destroys Vaishnava Apradha? I'll repeat. Is it true that reading Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhyakand Khanda chapter 22 destroys Vaishnava Apradha?
So we see that in Sri Krishna's pastimes also, that there are, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that when the demons come to Vrindavan, every demon denotes a particular aparadha. Like for example, Putana denotes hypocrisy or duplicity because she disguised and came in a form that she was not. And likewise, Trinavarta, Shakatasur, Dhenukasur, etc. They all denote one vices. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that when we study and hear these pastimes again and again, then these vices that are there in the heart will be destroyed by hearing that particular pastime. Like for example, if there is duplicity in the heart, then by repeatedly hearing the pastime of Putana, or if there is lust in the heart, then repeatedly hearing the pastime of Dvivida Gorilla, where Balaramji destroys Dvivida Gorilla, who represents lust. So these different personalities who came in Krishna Leela denote a particular anartha. And by hearing them repeatedly, not just once, repeatedly, then these anarthas are destroyed. As far as Chaitanya Bhagavat is concerned, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would mention that a sadhaka should take an oath that in their complete life, they should read Chaitanya Bhagavat 108 times, 108 times. Because Chaitanya Bhagavat, when it is read 108 times, Srila Saraswati Thakur would say that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will give darshan if it is read 108 times. But to read that 108 times, it is very voluminous. Just like it is Chaitanya Charitamrita has so many books, Chaitanya Bhagavat is also voluminous. But that is the tapasya. If we want Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is the tapasya, to read it 108 times. So naturally, when we read it multiple times, the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are so powerful. Not just Madhyakanda chapter 22, but any chapter, wherever we take, it's like a rasgulla. Whether we eat it from this side, whether we eat it from that side or this side, it's going to be sweet. Similarly, when we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, Srimad Bhagavatam, or even Bhagavad Gita, if we sincerely read it under the anugatya of a very exalted sadhu, under the guidance of a very exalted sadhu. Just like this gulab jamun or rasgulla is sweet from any side. Similarly, when we read the scriptures under the guidance of very exalted sadhu, these anarthas, which includes Vaishnava Apradha, will be destroyed. So not just one chapter, the whole book has so much Shakti that it can destroy. But provided when it is done many number of times under the guidance of someone who is exalted to us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That's a beautiful response. Another question. Others can also post the question or raise the hand. The question is about, you mentioned about Chitraketu and Jai Vijay's example. So this devotee is asking, it's not clear that Chitraketu's comment to Lord Shiva was not considered as critical as a Vaishnava Apradha. However, Jai Vijay's comment is critical as a Vaishnava Apradha. So I guess the devotee is asking that the comment looks like very offending, but why it is not critical?
Right. So even though the comment may look offending, yes, maybe we can mute our mics.
Yeah.
Yes. So even though the comment may seem offending, we have to also take it into consideration that what is the relation of the two personalities who were discussing. In the case of Jai Vijay and the four Kumaras, the relation was not that of Sakhiras, but the relation was awe and reverence. And naturally, the four Kumaras got offended. But in the case of Lord Shiva and Chitraketu Maharaj, the mood was that of friendship. Like, for example, if I tell something to my friend, very dear friend, if I tell him something, that friend may not take it offensive, but a third person who does not know the chemistry between me and that friend will think, hey, this is not right. How can you speak like this? But he fails to understand that there is a strong bond between these two personalities, and because of which any comment does not hamper their relationship. Similarly, in the case of Chitraketu Maharaj and Lord Shiva, there was a very strong bond, because of which, even though he made the comment, in fact, he made the comment because he knew that Lord Shiva is his friend and Lord Shiva will not take it otherwise. But Parvati, who was like the third person, she saw this as Vaishnava Apradha and she cursed. But on the contrary, when it comes to Jai Vijay and the four Kumaras, there was the mood of awe and reverence. Unlike here, where there was Sakhiras, here in this case of Jai Vijay and the four Kumaras, there was awe and reverence. And because of that, Jai and Vijay pastime is considered as Vaishnava Apradha, while Chitraketu Maharaj is not Vaishnava Apradha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Let me see, a couple of other questions were there on the list. There's a devotee asking, Upasampradaya. What is the meaning of Upasampradaya? How to identify the Upasampradaya?
So, is it Upasampradaya?
Yeah, that's how it is.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is not Upasampradaya, this is Apasampradaya.
Oh,
Apasampradaya. Okay. Yes. So that's what I was thinking. I have not heard Upasampradaya. So Sampradaya is nothing but, as we know, the line that we follow, Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, anything starting from Krishna or starting from Srimati Radharani. And Apasampradaya is naturally anything that is not a part of the Sampradaya. How do we understand if anything is Apasampradaya? Well, Shastra Chakshu. Shastra is like the lens. Chakshu means the eyes. In Kali, we don't know what is right or wrong. If we are given the choice, we will see everything as wrong. So, but Shastra is like the Chakshu. It's like the lens. And through Shastra Chakshu, we understand if this is Anukul or if this is Pratikul. If this is part of Shastra or this is not part of Shastra. So whatever questions we have in the form of whether it is Sampradayic or Apasampradayic can be helped with the help of Shastra. And along with Shastra, we can also see that we have something called as Siksha Guru. Because in ISKCON, we see that the Diksha Gurus are always traveling. It's It's absolutely impossible to sit at the lotus feet of our Diksha Guru and ask questions and get it clarified. So then how do we make progress? Who will answer our questions? That is where Siksha Guru comes into picture. Every devotee must have a Siksha Guru. Shiksha Guru te jani ei Krishnera Swarup Antaryami Bhakta Sreshta ei doi Roop. Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Siksha Guru is not different from Shri Krishna. Shiksha Guru te jani ei Krishnera Swarup Antaryami Bhakta Sreshta ei doi Roop. So when Guru Maharaj is not easily accessible, then Shiksha Guru is very important. So with the help of Shiksha Guru, with the classes of our Guru Maharaj and Shastra Chakshu, we understand what is Shastrik and what is not Shastrik, what is Sampradaik and what is Apasampradaik. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. There's an extension of the question previously asked. The devotee is asking, sometimes people take offense even though it was no intention, and in that case bhakti goes down. How do we understand that? I think you did answer in the class, but the devotee wants clarification.
Yes. So if I understand the question right, sometimes we don't intend to offend someone, but that devotee still sometimes gets offended. So how do we tackle it? Srila Rupa Goswami, when he was there in Vrindavan, I will answer this with a story. Srila Rupa Goswami, when he was there in Braj, Srila Rupa Goswami was performing bhajan. He was sitting in Radha Kund with his eyes closed and he was performing his bhajan. And he was seeing the pastimes of Radharani and Krishna. And at that time, one devotee came to meet Srila Rupa Goswami. And this devotee who came to meet Srila Rupa Goswami was lame. So Srila Rupa, when he saw Srila Rupa Goswami, he became very happy that, oh, Rupa Goswami is here in front of my eyes. And at that time, Srila Rupa Goswami, who was seeing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, he started smiling. Something sweet, something funny was happening in Radha Krishna pastimes, that he started seeing that and he was smiling with his eyes closed. But this devotee who came to meet Rupa Goswami, he thought that, oh, Rupa Goswami is smiling at me. He is laughing at me. He's thinking I am lame. That is why he is laughing at me. Now, did Rupa Goswami laugh at him? No. Rupa Goswami was smiling, seeing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, but this devotee took it as an offense. So he went to the guru of Rupa Goswami, that is Sanatan Goswami. He went to Shripad Sanatan Goswami and said, oh, look, your disciple, Rupa Goswami, who is so exalted, fountainhead of the Sampradaya, he laughed at me. And now what happened was, when this devotee took it as an offense, the pastime that Rupa Goswami was seeing broke. Now he was not able to see. We are talking about Rupa Goswami, dear devotees. We are not talking about some layman of the street. We are talking about Rupa Goswami. Did Rupa Goswami offend him? No. That devotee took it as an offense. And now Rupa Goswami's vision of that pastime completely broke. Rupa Goswami understood that something wrong has happened. Kuch to galat hua hai. He went to his Guru Maharaj. He went to Shripad Sanatan Goswami. When he went to Shripad Sanatan Goswami, this devotee was also present. So Srila Rupa Goswami understood what had happened. And Srila Rupa Goswami asked for forgiveness. Even though he had not committed any mistake, even though there was no fault of his, Srila Rupa Goswami, the fountainhead of our Sampradaya, asked for forgiveness because he lost the access, he lost vision to that pastime. What is the teaching? Srila Rupa Goswami is teaching us. We are Rupanugas, we are followers of Rupa Goswami. We may intentionally not want to offend someone, but if that devotee gets offended, we still ask for forgiveness because we don't want to displease any devotee and get Krishna. By displeasing any devotee, it is very difficult to get Krishna. So even if we have not voluntarily criticized someone, but if that devotee has taken it as an offense, we still ask for forgiveness. And there is no harm. We don't become small. Hum chote nahi ho jate kshama mangne se. We don't become small. Rupa Goswami is asking for forgiveness. So we can go to that devotee and say that, my dear devotee, I did not mean to, but if you felt offended, I please ask for forgiveness. Because if you don't forgive, I will not get taste in bhakti. My chanting will have no effect. I will not have taste in chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So kindly forgive me. And we will see this. Naturally, the heart of that devotee will melt. And the relation with that devotee will better. The relation with that devotee will better. That devotee will think, oh, this devotee is so nice. He came and asked for forgiveness. Even in the future, if next time, if there is something, that devotee will not take it offensive, because he will remember this devotee is so great. He came and asked for forgiveness. हम छोटे नहीं हो जाते, किसी से क्षमा मांगने से हम छोटे नहीं हो जाते. So we can follow Rupa Goswami. In fact, we have to follow Rupa Goswami. We are Rupa Nugas. So we can go to that devotee and ask for forgiveness, even if it is not our mistake. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhuji, do you have a little bit more time? There are 2-3 more questions.
Maybe we can take one last question. It's already 10:05. We can take one last.
Okay. Okay. You mentioned the Anugatya. So we've been hearing these classes from different devotees online, and so how do we differentiate, or like how do we understand that we are hearing from the correct source?
So first thing that we have to always keep in mind when it comes to hearing is, whom should I hear from? Should I hear from everyone, or should I hear from selected personalities? There is a parameter where we filter out whom should I hear from, and that parameter is purity. As Srila Prabhupada said, purity is the force. It was the force, it is the force, it will be the force. So that purity is the filter. We have to always make sure we hear from those people who are very pure, those who are having a very strong sadhana. In our personal hearing, we should always hear from those who are very pure, like Srila Prabhupada, like our Gurujan, like the God brothers of Srila Prabhupada, the God brothers of our Guru Maharaj. We have to always make sure we hear from those who have been practicing bhakti for many, many years, who have been in very good standing, and who have a strong understanding of the sadhana. Hearing from those who are pure is very important. Very, very important. When we hear from those who are not practicing, it may be entertaining. It may be one hour of manoranjan. It may be 1 hour of entertainment. But after that, what? After that, what? So we are hearing katha not for manoranjan, but for atmaranjan. We are not hearing katha for some entertainment of the mind. We are hearing katha for transformation of the heart. And that transformation of the heart takes place when we hear from those who are very pure. That is the first point. Now, hearing, or to be under anugatya, whom to hear from, how to hear. We have to first understand what is the mood of my Guru Maharaj. When we take diksha after having heard the classes of our Guru Maharaj. We don't just take diksha because 10 people in the congregation are taking diksha, I will also take. Well, that is good. On some level, it is good that we are taking diksha. But if we have no connection, if we are not hearing the classes, or if we have not heard the classes of our Guru Maharaj from whom we are taking diksha, then we will have no attraction for him. We will have no attraction. So first is we have to know what the mood of my spiritual master is. And that we will understand when we hear classes every single day, the classes of our spiritual master. Every disciple of Prabhupada has a particular mood. And all the moods are correct. They have all got that mood from Prabhupada. Prabhupada is like a rainbow of different moods. And every disciple has got one particular mood of Prabhupada. So we have to first understand what is the mood of my Guru Maharaj. What is he stressing on? What is the project that pleases him? When we understand that mood, when we have chalked out, when we have filtered out that mood, then we start hunting for those preachers who extensively preach on that aspect, who preach on that mood, who are having a strong sadhana and who preach on that mood of our Guru Maharaj. So what happens is, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, we are hearing Guru, we are understanding his bhav, while at the same time now we are under anugatya. Some Siksha Guru, not any Siksha Guru, but that Siksha Guru who is helping us go deeper into the mood of our spiritual master. Now, not necessarily that Siksha Guru whom we are under has to be our God brother, not necessarily. Sometimes it is possible that the disciple of some other God brother is having the same mood as that of our spiritual master. That is also possible. So we can take Siksha, we can be under Anugatya of anyone who's exalted, anyone who's superior to us, anyone who's having a strong sadhana. But the most important is he should have the same mood that my Guru Maharaj is having. Because disciple means he inherits what his Guru has. The son inherits the property of his father. Similarly, the disciple inherits the mood of his spiritual master. How do I know what is the mood? By hearing it, by hearing my Gurudev. And after hearing him, after understanding the mood that he constantly stresses on, then I start hearing other contemporary sadhus who are having that same mood. And then if possible, we approach them and ask them to accept us as our Siksha disciples. So that whenever we are having difficulties, we can reach out to them. Not just when we are having difficulties. How to study Shastra, how to chant, with what mood to chant. Kartik is coming. What are the books I should read? What are the Ashtakams I should read? Who will tell us? Because our Gurudev is always traveling. So we have to have one personality who is absorbing or who has absorbed the same mood of our Gurudev and who is kind enough to grant us that same mood by teaching us, by giving us instructions. So whom to hear, how to hear, first thing is we have to hear from our Gurudev. First parameter is purity. Then comes everything else. We don't want to hear classes that has a lot of jokes and things like that. That is good on one level. But we want classes that transform our heart. We want classes that give us a kick that I need Krishna. And in this life, I need Krishna. We have to hear from those speakers who pump in energy, who give us this feeling that I want Krishna. What am I doing? So many devotees have got Krishna. Where am I? When will I get Krishna? When I see the calendar, today is April 27th, 2022. When will that day arise when I know who I am in connection with Krishna? That Utkantha should be there. That Laulyam should be there. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Laulyam. Rupa Goswami, our Acharya, has described greed is the only price to get Krishna. But how do we get that greed? By hearing. By hearing from superiors like our spiritual master. It is a wireless Bluetooth transfer to your devotees. Whatever our spiritual master has, when we constantly hear, it will come in our heart. So there has to be everyday constant hearing. Constant hearing. And after filtering out, after understanding the mood of our spiritual master, we look for those who are contemporary, who are having that same mood, who are in good standing with good sadhana, and we approach them and ask if they can accept us as our Siksha disciples. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your time. The talk went a little bit longer than expected. Devotees have questions, and which is, I think, it's a good sign that everybody took interest in the class. And we appreciate your time. On behalf of ISKCON of Bergen, I would like to extend my thanks and would like to request you that please consider giving us your association in future as well as the time allows. And it's a great pleasure to have you. And if you are traveling sometime to New Jersey, we'll be more than happy to host you to one of these programs. And thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Gopal Govind Prabhu. And thank you so much, dear Ram Tulsi Prabhu. Thank you so much, Ramchandra Prabhu. And thank you so much to all the familiar faces and to all the devotees who have joined us from different parts. Kindly forgive me if I said anything wrong that is apasiddhanta or not in line with our spiritual teachers. I'm just trying to speak something that I've heard from my spiritual superiors. If I made any mistakes, I beg devotees to kindly forgive me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Have
Krishna.
a wonderful Krishna conscious day.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्तवृंद की जय।